Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore. This is Knock Knock, Part 2. I'm Weetsy,
And I'm Sam Ivy.
and thanks for joining us, fam.
What up,
Today,
fam?
today we are going to be diving into a pretty heavy topic, I would say, and this is all about Sam, really. I'm gonna start it off with it's a sad story, but in comparison, it's mild, so it's like a
Still
preface to
correlations, though. Yeah.
kind of ease us in. And maybe we'll just recap a little bit. The episode is called Knock Knock, when death comes knocking, essentially. So just these have been last episode, there were two stories shared of people who experienced death face to face in my family line. And so if you didn't listen to that, you should stop, pause, come back though when you're
Yeah.
done. Definitely don't look at the mark of the time in which it is currently
Or
during
if you want to
this.
listen to it backwards, listen to it backwards. Do you, fam? But,
I mean, fair. That's fair. You're correct. You're right. Listen to it in whatever order you want. Um, but there was a story about my grandpa Franklin, as Sam proceeds to die in the background.
It's okay.
The last episode, we told my dad was on, and my dad was hanging out. Sam was not on because the schedules didn't align. I interviewed my dad, and he told me, I told him the story of Norman Franklin, and I also told you and Lou.
Yeah.
So we kind of combined both of those experiences into one, and then played all of the reactions together to kind of focus on Norman. And then my dad talked about finding his dad and clarified some of the information that I had wrong,
Mm.
which some of the key points were. I stated I remembered that my dad found his dad in his chair
Yeah.
in the living room. Well, that's not where he was found. And he also didn't walk in on my grandma actively partaking in adultery. He
Bow, bow, bow.
he I'm laughing, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I just do that
Mm-hmm. It's trauma
sometimes
response, baby.
in inappropriate moments.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. So, um, what happened was it was the 4th of July, and she just decided to tell him when he got home from work. And he didn't get home from work early, my dad said, but I still think he did. I still think, but my dad was there, so
Yeah.
I remember hearing through other people saying they think he got home early, but it really doesn't matter.
Nope.
Um, and my grandma just decided to tell him that she was having an affair with Roy, and then he just went to bed. And then the next morning, my dad walked in and tried to wake him up and couldn't. And
Mm.
so, so those are
Either
some
way, though.
clarifying. Yeah, and there's more to it, so listen to the previous episode if you didn't, especially
Yeah.
hearing it from my dad. And he tells a bunch of other mini stories in
Well,
there too.
especially knowing how he responded after the fact, and the fact that he is willing to talk about it now so freely and so openly, says wonders. You guys definitely need to hear about his progression.
It's crazy. Yeah. So the reason, and I talked a little bit earlier about how I had the wrong, remembered a chair.
Yeah.
Well, the second or the third story, or the first story of today, third story of the four, is my story, and the more minor story comparatively. Um, my grandma Bevy had a dog named Buddy. It was
Oh, it's
a
a
Shih Tzu.
dog?
Yeah,
Aw. Okay, so it's not fried green tomatoes, buddy, but it's still, aw.
yeah.
It doesn't get hit by a train, right?
No,
Okay, cool, cool. Alright, go back. Sorry, fried green tomatoes on my mind.
you're fine. I love fried green tomatoes. The movie, the actual food, not
Yeah,
great
yeah,
in my
no,
personal
but
opinion. But anyway, my grandma Bevy had this dog, Buddy. This dog was basically, it was a Shih Tzu, and it was like this curly gray or a tan color,
fucking
and it
hate Shih
always had
Tzus.
like tears. Like it was one of those
Mhm.
dogs that always looked like it was crying with like all the brown, gunky, gross,
Yup.
stinky dog. As a kid, I loved this dog. It was fat. He was so fat, like a sausage, and when he walked, he waddled, and
Oh.
Grandma would feed him anything he wanted. She was so kind and caring and loving to this dog, giving this dog everything. And this is the same grandma that my dad talks about, the grandma who was abusive,
Hmm.
but, was abused. And there's a whole
Yeah.
thing on that. So I didn't see an abusive side. I saw this old lady, no offense, Grandma, you're old lady, chain smoking in her kitchen,
Yep.
eating donuts, eating a half a donut and giving the other half to Buddy. Just
Yeah.
half a jelly donut, other half for Buddy, and Buddy just eating it. He was the coolest dog. He would sit on my lap, and he was very heavy. And as a kid, he like crushed me. But like
Oh.
in a good way. He was cute.
You
I
guys had a
loved
good
him.
Shih Tzu. My aunt had
Yeah,
two of them and they hated me.
I've never met another good Shih Tzu. I don't know what it was about this dog. No offense to people who love Shih Tzus.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sure there are the few weirdos out there who do. No offense. I
I'm not one of them.
he must have been mixed with something because I see Shih Tzus and I'm like, that's not Buddy. I
That
see
or,
Buddy in them.
maybe he like fucking just because he got so fat and happy with human food that he was like, fuck it, I like people. They feed me.
Yeah, and maybe it completely changed his breed to like part Labrador or something. I don't
Hmm.
know, but he was really cool. Um, he would always, whenever he was sleeping, he was so fat that he would just like snore before he was even asleep, like just like
Yep.
heavy snoring, like a pug kind of
Yep.
sound.
Well, the
And
small
so,
snouted dogs normally do that too.
yeah. And so I I was probably like 14, 13. My grandma was married to my step grandfather Don, and that Lou briefly mentioned Don,
Hmm.
and yeah. So I had to be in the double digits, but I'm not sure how old exactly.
Yeah.
But I get to my grandma's house, and the first thing I would always do is go find Buddy. So I
Of
come in, you
course.
come into the side door, which is through the garage into the kitchen. And then if you run all the way back to the front of the house and to the left, you're in the living room. And
Hmm.
there was a reclining chair in this living room. And I'm looking all over for Buddy. I can't find him. And I start listening for his breathing because that's another way you could find
Yeah.
him. Is you would just stop and listen. If he was sleeping somewhere, you'd hear him. I didn't hear him. And I'm like, Grandma, where's Buddy? Where's Buddy? She's like, I don't know. He's in there somewhere. He's in there somewhere. And then I remember seeing a foot, like from behind the recliner.
Uh-huh.
And I bend down and I see Buddy and I get really excited. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
here he is. And I go and I place my hand on him and he's cold.
Mm.
And I shake him and I'm like trying to wake him up and I can't wake him up. And I have this moment where I get really freaked out and I pull my hand away and it's like all the life
Hmm.
like ran out of me. Like I just felt like immediately nauseous.
Dude, you were faced by
Like
death, dude. He was literally sitting there. It was the chill.
it was the fucking weirdest feeling. And this is a dog.
And this is also
And
before you realized how like in tune you are on the spiritual side of things too, because you were young. So you gotta think about that too.
yeah,
Sorry. Keep going.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It just was like this overwhelming, melty feeling and I stood there for a second, not really knowing what to do. And then I walk into the kitchen and my grandma's sitting there in a really good mood. That's the
Yeah.
part that I really remember, is that she was in a good mood. And she had lipstick on and like blue eyeshadow, and her hair was done. I just remember, but she might have been in a robe. I'm not really totally sure about that. I'm not sure, but she was smoking a cigarette. And I just walk in and I turn to her and I just say with the coldest
Emotionless.
blank,
Yep.
I go, Buddy's dead. And she's like, what? What? And I just repeat myself, Buddy's dead. And she's like, and I'm
So
laughing
just like your
again.
dad, dude.
I'm laughing again because it was terrible. And she starts to stand up and she like pushes me out of the way and she's like, where? What do you mean? And starts like screaming. And her voice isn't that deep, wasn't that deep.
Yeah.
And I remember just saying like behind the chair. And then the next thing I remember is looking out the back window that looked at the backyard and watching Don and my dad fighting over how deep to build this
Mm-hmm.
hole while the dead dog is coming unwrapped in his wrapping because they put him in on a hill, and so like half of his dead little dog body is hanging out of his bag that he's going to
Jesus,
be buried
dude.
in. And I remember asking them to build a coffin and they were like, no, he's a dog. And I remember thinking, oh my god, he's going to decay, there's going to be
Mm-hmm.
nothing to protect him, like all
But
these
either way,
really
that's gonna happen too, though.
gross thoughts. And
Because
then they're
like,
just like, Don is just going off on my dad. My dad's just cussing him out, and they're just like bickering. And I'm just looking out the window, just like watching this happen. Sorry, what were
it's,
you gonna
no,
say?
I was gonna say like talking about animals and stuff like that. Like I grew up with like six Boston Terriers and shit, and you get used to death when it comes to that aspect. Having them for so long, and Boston Terriers are notorious for getting sick and whatnot. But most of the time, when it came to our animals, like they would get old and we have to put them down. So I got used to taking it to the vet and stuff. My
Yeah.
first death with an animal I had to experience personally was my cat Bug. He just happened to get sick, and it's really funny because the weekend he passed away, it was like right after my birthday or something, and we were going to go camping, and we didn't. Like we just decided, we weren't feeling it. And that Sunday, I opened up the door to let the cats out, and he was barely moving. He was just very lethargic, and I was like, oh shit. So I went ahead and scooped him up, and I made like a little bed on the floor. I laid down with him, freaking put on Grey's Anatomy of all shows. And his sister, Peaches, like laid down on the floor next to him with me, and I just, held him and loved on him. And then, of course, the show's going beep, 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 and then he takes his like last little breath, and it hurt so bad because he was like my first baby. I mean, I had him and Peaches before I had Luna. Like I got them on my 16th birthday, and like Mimi was the one
Uh,
that bought them for me. Like the reason why I had Peaches is because she wanted her and I wanted Bug, and they were brother and sister, and she didn't want to separate them, so she bought
wow.
both of them for me. And she took care of them for me when I lived in Colorado because Cheryl wouldn't let me bring them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been my babies. They've been through so many stages of my life. I mean, they were here when I got this house and first moved in and shit like that.
Hmm.
But what's really cool about that is my roommate and my boyfriend went ahead, and once it happened, like they cried, they did their tears and stuff too, but they took it like went on like fucking champs. Like they got me a cool little box to wrap him up in a towel, and I laid him in there. I put him by his like first collar. I put his favorite toy. I put like flowers and stuff that I had in there. I made sure, ironically, a week before he got sick, like I got a little paw print imprinted of his, so I have that, keepsake for me. And as
That's
I like I'm
cool.
doing that, like I took him, his body, I took him to his sister. Peaches gave him a kiss goodbye. I took him to Luna, and like Luna actually kissed him like goodbye and everything, and like they knew what was going
Wow.
on. My roommate and boyfriend dug the hole. My roommate actually took fucking trim or some like wood for a house they were supposed to use on the wall and cut me a cross that he made so I could paint his name on it and stuff like that. So
Aww.
it's like he's buried in the backyard with his little like nameplate that's sitting there, you
Oh
know.
my god. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So that was my first hard one, and after dealing with that, I'm like looking at my dog, and I'm like, dude, you're getting old. That's gonna be so hard. And
Oh yeah, I
Peaches, she's the
can.
oldest one I have, and I can tell she's getting older. And I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do after you die? Mufasa, I can't get another cat, god damn it, but he's gonna need one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of
Yeah.
funny that Mimi's the reason why I have most of my animals. Like the only one I purchased
Hmm.
myself was Mufasa. Like she's the reason why I had all my babies.
And speaking of Mimi, that leads us into our fourth story. And
Mm-hmm.
that story of Bug, that was a good example of like there's multiple ways as we go through life that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
experience death. And some moments they're all hard, but they're
Mm-hmm.
all going to be hard in different ways. And you're about to tell us a pretty difficult story.
Yeah.
So I just want to preface, let the viewers know it's a
It could be triggering for some people, especially with the
yeah.
details I'm going to go into.
Yeah.
But it's my story to tell. And at the end of the day, I want everybody to visually see what I saw and to understand why I responded the way that I did and why that situation honestly has changed me. And it has. I'm a different person than what I was 3 years ago.
Yeah. So, with that being said, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about who Mimi was?
She was a batshit crazy, lovable grandma that would do anything for her only grandchild. And I was her only grandchild. She during and we'll get into it in other episodes, but I went through, hard childhood and whatnot, but she was basically my mom when I didn't have a mom. And like she even by the end of it was calling me her daughter. Like she did everything she could for me. Um and to this day if she was still around, she would. She would give me literally like the skin off her bones if I needed it.
Mm.
Um she's the main drive for this podcast too. Cause like if this we could have started this when she was around, God, I would have loved it. Just to, have her. I do have some recordings of her. I do have a voicemail from her, but like that's all I have now. And her death for me has been the hardest because realistically speaking, I have been losing people, whether it's been friends, family members, things like that since 2011. Because 2011 was when
Yeah.
my great grandmother Peachy died, and I was there when my grandmother got the phone call in the kitchen, and I was the one that caught her from falling straight to the ground.
Oh, man.
And you would think, okay, that once in a lifetime that's going to happen. No. 2 years after, or a few years, it might have been, I can't, my times are weird. I don't remember death days. I just don't, I
Yeah.
can't. A couple of years after my great grandmother passed away, which was Mimi's mother, then my grandfather, like as soon as she passed away, started getting sicker and sicker. He had kidney disease, he had pancreatic cancer, he had, X, Y, and Z other things. Eventually got to be too much, and I'm pretty sure he passed away from pneumonia. But when she got that phone call, we were standing in the living room, and guess who was right next to her again? Me, because he passed away at 11:11,
Oh,
and
wow.
I caught her once again. So my grandfather and her were married, I do believe, for about anywhere from 42 to 47 years. I know they were in the 40 range, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
That was her soulmate. That was her partner. That was her everything. So once he passed away, my grandmother went into a very, very deep depression. Like refused to sleep in the main master bedroom because that was their bedroom. Like she slept in the guest bedroom she had set up. Like she didn't want to leave the house. She didn't really want to do anything. She had no motivation for anything. Understandably
Yeah.
so. Like people
Yeah.
can die of heartbreak, as we've talked about
Yeah.
before.
Yes, exactly. So,
So,
this shows itself in different forms a lot of times, like whether it's a heart attack in the night
mhm.
when you fall asleep, or it's slowly through years of depression and eventual, we'll
And my
see.
grandmother had
Yeah.
plenty of health issues too. Like she was a really bad asthmatic, almost passed away a couple times from asthma attacks. She had a stroke a few years before my grandfather passed away. Like she was in a lot of pain. She, broke her neck back in like the early 2000s, and
Oh, wow.
she shattered her ankle in Florida once and has a whole metal like plate in her ankle. Like it's yeah, like she's gone through some stuff. So she went through a really bad depression. My dad and me, living at the house with her, tried to get her out, try to get her doing things. I would say it took her about 2 years before she was starting to get like out of that dark cloud. Like she was making
Yeah.
plans. Well, I got a little ahead of the story. Before she got out of her depression, she was still in it. I was still living at the house at the time. I was sleeping in the basement. She was upstairs. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just hear my dad screaming. And I'm like, what is going on? I thought maybe the dogs got into a fight, something. And my dad. And I just hear him hitting the floor and like trying to wake me up. And I wake up and I walk and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, your grandmother's not breathing. Your grandmother's not breathing. And I was like, okay. I run into the back room where she's at. She's literally black and blue, like in the face. Like she's,
Mm.
defecated herself. Like all the signs, like she's floppy. Like
Mm.
there's no sign of life, basically. And my dad's freaking out. He doesn't know CPR. I'm looking at him and I'm like half asleep. I'm like, have you called 911? He's like, I tried. He was asking me questions like just through the phone. I said, all right, well, that's not helpful.
Oh, my
So
God.
I had him put her on the ground because he was trying to do it on the bed. I was like, she needs to be on a flat surface. Put her on the ground. I call 911. I give him the rundown. I am not CPR certified. I do not have any idea what if it wasn't for shows like ER, Grey's Anatomy, or all the doctor shows I watch, like I wouldn't have any clue. But as the 911 operator is walking me through it, I'm just going with what Grey's Anatomy said, and that's, put your hands on the chest. You're gonna go, yeah, staying alive, and
Yeah.
just did
Oh my
that. I knew that I
God.
was supposed to feel a
I don't mean
pop,
to
so the moment
laugh.
that happened, no, dude, I was literally in my head just, I was talking to him like, yeah, and then I was about to get to the point where you have to do mouth to mouth, and like she started to gurgle. And I'm like,
Oh
she's
my God.
gurgling. I was like, dude, what do I do? And he's like, no, you're good. Just, make sure she keeps making noise, pump on her chest if she needs it. And then right then, like, the EMTs walked in and they took care of her and everything. We later
Oh
found
my
out
God.
that she was on a pain pill called gabapentin.
Mm.
So we deduced, we're like, okay, well, need to stop taking that. We're going to get that off your regime. And so she did well.
Yeah.
She didn't do it for a little bit. And then she started getting out of her depression and everything. She was making plans. She was going to, meet up for some high school friends, like, that she hadn't seen in years. They were going to take a trip and stuff. Like, she was finally being like, it's time for me to, live my life still.
Yeah.
I
So
move out of the
they just determined that she had an asthmatic attack from the gabapentin
Yes.
reaction?
So if you do research on gabapentin, because I did this after she passed away, I didn't do it at the first time this occurred. But
Okay.
gabapentin is actually a respiratory suppressant. It is a good pain pill, but it's a respiratory suppressant. So you're giving
Oh,
an asthmatic who has severe asthma, can hardly breathe anyway, something that's going to repress their breathing system even more. It didn't make any sense to me.
yeah.
So she's finally getting out of her depression, whatever. I move out of the house doing big girl things. My dad's still living there and whatnot. And I happened to go to work one day when I was working at the dispensary, which happened to be 5 minutes away from my grandma's. I'm just, sitting there. They normally don't call me. They call me if it's an emergency, especially when they know I'm working. And all of a sudden I get a call from Mimi. And I'm like, oh, answer. I'm like, what's up, old lady? And it's my dad's friend who spent the night. And he's like, your grandma's not breathing, EMT's here, but like your dad's freaking out. Like, I was like, I'm on my way, say less. I hung up the phone.
Oh my
I ran
God.
to my manager's office. I said, my grandma's not breathing. I gotta go. And I fucking grabbed my keys, grabbed my wallet, run to my car. It's starting to kind of sprinkle outside, but it's still sunny, which my grandma used to say meant the devil's beating his wife. But like, it was like a weird weather
Oh
combo.
my God. Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah, that was always her saying. Every time it was bright and sunny, but it was sprinkling or raining outside, she's like, the devil's beating his wife. I don't know where it originated from.
Oh my God. I just had goosebumps on the back of my head.
But I'm driving, definitely speeding at this point, trying my best, not to freak out. I keep saying fuck, 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 fuck. And I'm like, not today, Shirley. It's not happening. You're good. You had this happen before. We're good. I just got to get there. That's all I thought. I pull up and there's already cop cars. There's already the fucking ambulance car and everything. And I walk into the house. She's laid out on her bedroom floor and they actually have a machine hooked up to her that's like pumping her chest instead of them manually doing it, which was weird. But like, I walk in there and I could just tell. Like, she had no life in her eyes. Her mouth was fucking wide open. Like, it was just such a haunting face. Like, have you ever seen the movie The Ring? They find that girl in the closet in that one scene. It's like that, but it's like not as serious, obviously. But it was like that, just that lifeless. That she was a shell. Yeah. And my dad's just pacing in the kitchen and everything. I see that, and then see him pacing, and then they come out and they're like, "Hey, like we've been doing this now for 20 minutes. We're gonna do this for 10 more minutes, but like after 30 minutes, like we have to call it because legally they have to do it for 30 minutes." And my dad starts slamming on the kitchen counters and whatever. And I tell him, I'm like, please go in your room. Like, I understand, go in your room. I get him away. And then the EMTs have to talk to me. And I have not shed a tear yet. I have not processed anything. I'm very stoic. I'm very just breathing. The EMTs asked me all the questions. I knew so much more information about my grandma than I thought I did. Like telling them, medication she's on, her birthday, X, Y, and Z things. At the same time, when all this is going on, I'm walking outside calling, my mom, so somebody knows, calling my boss and being like, hey, here's the situation. Probably not coming in this weekend. Keeping everybody updated as I could. Still have not cried, still have not processed anything, right? I go back inside. It's been 10 minutes. They call it. The EMTs come and tell me and my dad, like, we're sorry to tell you, but, she has passed. My dad instantly bawls and freaks the fuck out and runs to like the back room and starts smashing a side table that, was there.
Oh
I look at the EMTs and I'm like, thank you. I appreciate everything you guys did. I know you did your best. Like, thank you. And they're like, grief and it's, it's going to hit you. I was like, it's fine. I was like, I appreciate all your effort. I was like, I hope you guys have a great day. As I like walked them out the house.
Christ. They're like looking at you. They're looking at you like, ma'am,
Yeah, like you don't.
you good? Are you
Yeah.
good? Like,
Or am I a
God.
sociopath? Because, like, for real, like, I did not, nope. So my dad's freaking out in the back, like a normal person would respond. But he's
Yeah.
smashing a freaking table to,
A
like,
little
bits. And,
less
like, the
normal.
cops, the cops are still there. So they're like, do we need to detain you? What's going on? I look at them, and luckily I knew one of the officers because I graduated with him. I was like, give me two
Wow.
seconds. And I walk back there, and I literally, like, bend down to my dad. I said, look, I understand what you're feeling, but you're going to get yourself arrested if you keep it up like this. I was like, you need to go put shirt on. You need to go put shoes on. I was like, you need to be calm so they'll let you leave. I was like, you and your friend need to get out. I was like, I got this. It's like, where do you want to send her? He told me which funeral home. I said, okay, I got this. You can go.
Uh, you just feel
He
like your
calmed,
dad.
dude, he calmed down. Him and his friend got out. I looked at the officer. I told them the same funeral home my grandfather went to because that's the only one I really knew. I called my mom and I, told her what happened, and I asked her if she could call my dad's brother and sister. Not because I couldn't, I didn't have a relationship with them at the time. Also
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be, hey, you guys hate me, let me drop this bomb on you.
Yeah.
And they probably had my number blocked anyway. And my mom, being the trooper she is and loving me as much as she does, even though she hates my dad's family, she did that for me. She called both my aunt and my uncle because out of respect alone, if roles were reversed and this was my mom and these were my siblings or something, I would want to know when it happened. I wouldn't want to find out a day later, hours later. I wanted to know, I would want to know right then and there.
Yeah.
So my mom did
Yeah.
that. I
That's
sat
nice.
around. Yeah, it was very dope with my mom, but it was technically because she died at home of unknown causes. It was a crime scene, so I wasn't allowed to go in her room. I sat there with two officers, which was supposed to take 20 minutes, but it took 4 hours. And all I could see was her foot in the door frame, just her foot. And I always thought she had the grossest little feet, but I was looking, just saw her foot. And
Oh
I'm
my
just like,
God.
still haven't cried, still having time to process it. I'm sitting there, I'm looking, I put an order at the dispo because I'm like, I need weed.
Was she
So
barefoot?
yeah, she was in her pajamas. She literally, like, apparently what happened was her chest or whatever, something closed up. She couldn't breathe. She screamed for my dad and the guy that was staying there at the time. And, like, they came in and she was called 911. And then they got her on the floor and because she woke up from her sleep. Like, she woke up not being able to breathe.
Mm.
But yeah, so it took 4 hours for the funeral home to show up because my lovely uncle decided that he didn't like the funeral home I chose because they're too expensive. So he called and tried to change it. However, with it being a crime scene, the officers needed to call and change it. So I'm sitting there, still haven't been able to cry, still just keep myself calm, bullshitting with the cops, answering whatever questions I have to, just waiting. And then my uncle eventually shows up. They discuss about the funeral homes, figure that out. They call the right one that's coming, so I wait for them to pick him up. I look at my uncle because he's not allowed to go in the room yet, and I'm like, look, I was like, when they come and pick her up, I was like, I don't think you should look at her. I was like, coming from somebody who has seen her and seen that state of her, I was like, you do not want that to be the last image of her in your head. I was like, because I'm never going to be able to get it out of mine. I was like, so I'm trying to save you that image of your mother. And what does he do? Once the funeral home and picks her up, and I'm having this conversation, he unzips the bag right in front of me, so I get to look at her again.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Hey, Tracy. This is Tracy, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
If by some miracle of the God-given Christ you're listening to this, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, Tracy. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
hear me, listeners, viewers, whoever's here. Thank you all for being here, except you, Tracy. Get the fuck away from us. Don't even be
Yeah.
here. Hey, guys, if you're listening, can you please, if you're somewhere that can you comment fuck Tracy with a heart? Because
Mm-hmm.
fuck Tracy. Because I'm fucked up. You never told
Yep.
me that part. You
Yep.
never told me that part. And I'm fucked up about that. And I think Tracy, I already thought you were a dirtbag, trash,
Oh, yeah.
stupid fuck. But now,
Uh-huh.
Tracy, I don't know if I can say all this on air. Just let's say
Mm-hmm.
Tracy sucks. I know not
Yeah.
everybody is for the cuss words.
No, it's ironic you say that, though, because, like, after they picked her up and everything, I locked up the house and whatnot, and the first thing I let myself do is I held onto my steering wheel and I screamed fuck to the point of my voice being fucking raw. Still didn't cry yet. I was like, all right, let me go to the dispo, hold myself
Mhm.
together, let me get my wax that I have to pay for. So I go there, and of course, like the security guard's my homie, so he pulls me in, and everybody knew my grandma. She was like, I got my medical card with my grandmother, so like she used to always come up to the
Oh,
dispo.
sorry,
Where's my
goosebumps.
granddaughter? Where's my baby girl? Like, come give me hugs, like shit like that. And like if she always came, she always wanted me as her butt tender. Like she loved me. So
Yeah,
everybody knew her, and they knew, Mimi. So the security guard pulls me in the office, and he literally just hugs me. And the moment he hugs me, I just fucking bawled. I finally was able, after 4+ hours, to like be able to process some of it. The homies went ahead and made me a nice little like I'm sorry card. Everybody hugged me. They gave me a bag of fucking goodies, and like
there we go. That's
yeah,
awesome.
like it was cool. It was dope. It was yeah, and
God.
it was just a forever changing moment, man. I mean, she was my sunshine. Like she was my grandma. She was. I love my parents, and I do love my parents to death, and I do anything for them. But she's the one that I still cry about to this day. Certain
Yeah.
songs will come on, and it'll just it'll hit different.
She raised you, and I know you have your
100%.
mom and you have a good relationship with your mom now, but for a long time you didn't. And no hate on your mom. Your mom's
Yeah,
great. I
shit
love her
happens.
from,
Situations.
and that's a
Everything is
whole
meant to be the
different,
way it's meant to be. If my mom and that situation didn't occur, then I wouldn't have been able to have a relationship with my grandmother the way that I did.
yeah, exactly.
You know,
And she raised you. She made you who you are. And she made me feel at home. I'm so glad I got to meet her. Like,
dude.
I'm so,
Everybody that ever
I got to
met
meet your
her, she
grandpa.
immediately became Mimi.
I got to meet your grandma and your grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, because when you guys brought me back from
crazy.
Colorado, like
Hmm.
you and freaking Wiki, yeah, death and everybody processes it differently. I definitely try to celebrate instead of lurk in it.
Hmm.
But I'm also a believer that death doesn't fix problems either. Like,
Yeah.
me and my aunt, we had beef before my grandmother died. She actually, afterwards, when everything was said and done, she was trying to complain to my dad at the fact that I didn't have the balls to call her and talk to her directly and tell her when my grandmother died, even though she had my number
Oh,
blocked.
you don't
And
owe her anything. She can eat a piece of pie that has poop in
she
it.
was very
Oh.
offended that I had my mother call her. But my dad,
Okay, what's her
shout out to
name?
my dad.
You
Who?
can do a fake name. What is it? Or a real one. I don't care. Just her first name. What is it?
Fucking. We can just call her the dork, because that was her fucking message that she was like, I'm a dork, leave me a message.
Okay, dork.
Yeah. No,
Dork.
fucking. My
Sorry,
dad
I'm
was a
not.
true.
I'm fine.
Good. My
I'm
dad was a
fine.
true one, though. When she said that shit, he stuck up for me real fucking quick, because he is still very thankful for me doing what I did that day. Um, he was like, dude, he goes, you can say whatever you want to fucking say. He's like, but Sam held the ship down. He goes, you should be thankful that she even told you in the first fucking place. She's like, she didn't have to. He's like, if it wasn't for her, shit could have gone way worse. And, explained everything that I had going on at the time that it was going. Carol ate her words oh shit. Whatever. She ate her words real quick. I don't give a fuck. Fuck that bitch. But when she came for the funeral and everything, she tried to be my best friend again. She didn't want to talk about anything. She didn't want to squash anything. But, like, she wanted to, act like things were
Yeah.
cool. And I'm like, nah, dude. I was like, I still don't like you. I was like, just because your mom died doesn't make you a better person. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
especially because when she did pass away, and this was back to the gabapentin thing, she started taking gabapentin again. And so everything that she had that happened when she passed away is what happened a couple years prior when I saved her the first time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have an autopsy done and, all this stuff. And my dad's siblings did not want to do that because they didn't want to spend the extra money. So they
That is
chopped up
so
her death.
crazy. That is so crazy. So your mother died, and you're not gonna get an
And you have no
autopsy
idea
to get
why. Like, you have no
answers.
idea why.
And and I'm not trying to throw shade at my dad, who was just on the previous episode, but we're actually
Mm-hmm.
next. We're gonna be talking about my mom and that whole thing soon.
Yeah.
And to this day, I do not understand why we did not get an autopsy of my mother. My mom was cremated within hours of
Mm-hmm.
dying, and she was 52 years old, and we didn't get an autopsy. I still do not understand. I don't care if it costs $10,000 and I had to sell my vehicle. Like, why didn't we get an autopsy? Everyone who dies, who's under like 80 years old, should get an
Especially
autopsy. And
if you
truthfully,
don't have
anyone
any
should.
like if there's no like underlying conditions or something. You know, like my grandmother wasn't sick. Like yeah, she didn't have the best health, but she wasn't sick. And
But why did she stop breathing? Well, what caused that?
and the moment I saw it, like I said, like because my dad said that a couple days before she passed away, he found the fact that she was on gabapentin again. So he's like, you need to stop this. So she stopped taking it supposedly,
But
or
isn't
she took
that
too much.
dangerous too? Like, isn't
Exactly.
it?
So it's either she stopped it without like weaning herself off, or she didn't stop it. And she had a tendency because she was on other pain pills and she used to sleep with them underneath her pillow. So if she would take one and forget she took one and happen to, double up her dose or mix something
Oh God.
in the middle of the night, like I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I wanted to get an autopsy done because I got to sit in with them, even though I wasn't her daughter. I was still her granddaughter, and I was in the will and stuff like that. So I got to sit in for like most of the lawyer meetups and like planning stuff for the funeral because my dad had bad memory, so he wanted me there anyway.
Yeah.
I wasn't really allowed to speak up. I'm not the one that gets to make the decisions. I'm not the next in line. But when it brought up the fact for an autopsy, like I even threw out there, I was like, it was only $2,000 to do it. And I was like, I will fork up the $2,000. I was like, if we can, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. Same like they got her cremated because it was cheaper than doing a coffin. And I couldn't even keep any of the ashes. Like,
You could not.
no, they didn't let me. Like when they got her cremated and everything, like Cheryl and fucking Tracy took that shit, brought it straight to the funeral, like, where it all happens, and she got put in the ground. It was all sealed up. There was nope.
Oh my God.
And then they had the audacity. They had the audacity to be upset at the fact that in her fucking life insurance policies and stuff like that, she had one for me, like that to give me money, basically. Like it was one for like $10,000.
Yeah, and you
And
never got that.
well, my aunt and uncle were upset at the fact that she didn't leave her step grandkids anything because my uncle married a woman, she had other kids. I'm her only grandchild. She raised me. I didn't
Yeah.
expect anything. And when they were upset, I straight up looked at them. I was like, dude, I would trade that 10 grand and everything else to have her back in a heartbeat. I was like, that means
Yeah.
nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, when she passed away, I did go to the house before anybody else got there because, Cheryl was coming from Colorado and, like, Tracy didn't really come to the house. He didn't have a house key. And
Yeah.
my dad was going on his bender, trying to deal with shit. So, like, I went to the house and I was in there by myself. And I could have taken anything. Because my grandmother had a lot of rare shit. She had a lot of expensive shit. But all I took was a sweater she wore to every occasion in the winter, whether it was a birthday party or recital or whatever. It's just a really fucking thick knitted, like dark red, purple sweater that I just remember always on her. I took a bottle of Chanel No. 5 perfume that my grandfather bought her, and he would buy her every year. I took all of her Beatles records because I'm sorry, I'm taking those.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was it. Everything else that I have of hers was what my aunt and uncle did not want and didn't see any value in. Cheryl went ahead and picked through all the jewelry and left costume jewelry. And I straight up looked at my dad. I said, you can give it to your hoes. I don't want it. I was like, I have every piece of jewelry she wanted to give to me.
Sam, you
Now,
can
I
give
also
it
took
to
a
your
shirt, too. That
hoe.
was my grandfather's. Yeah.
You
My
just
dad was
looked
going
at
through a
your
dark time
dad
then.
and said, you can give these to your host.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was going
What
through a rough time at that point.
Oh, so it
Big
was,
downward
did it
spiral
bring him
for him.
joy? Did it bring him joy to give those to his host?
Honestly, I think it just helped him pay for more drugs because he went from being like almost like 250, 300 pounds, and he dropped to like 180 real fast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Grief is a beast.
My dad deals with things in pain in extremes.
And that was his mom. And she took care of him.
And it was so sporadic that it's not like she had
Yeah.
time to plan anything ahead, and my dad didn't have anything
Yeah.
planned. And my aunt
Yeah.
and my uncle hate my dad, so he knew it was like a time crunch, and they really did him dirty at the end. They did me dirty with the 10 grand. Like, they just,
Mm-hmm.
they got what they
Yeah.
wanted out of it. I hope them nothing but the worst, if I'm being honest. They're
Yeah,
not worth
they're
the
not
energy
good
to feel anything
people.
else towards. Karma, dude. I ain't gotta do shit.
Yeah. We're gonna just
Energy.
tell the truth here. And part of that karma is if you're a crappy person to us or to like anybody and we hear about it and it fits into a narrative, we might talk about it on this podcast.
Yeah, dude.
Whoops. Don't be a
Like I
crappy
said,
person.
there's three
Don't
parts
feel
to every
bad.
story. There's my
Yep.
part, their part, and the in between that actually happened. And at the end of
Yep.
the day, this is my story, and this is how I want to tell it. And this
If they'd
is,
like to come on, I would love for
yeah,
them to shoot us an email. Please, anybody directly involved in this story, if you feel you've been done wrong and dirty by Pants and Wheatsy here. Oh, well, you're not Pants, you're Pants to me, and I might call you
yeah,
Pants.
that's
I
fine.
call her Sammy Pants, so judge me, you won't.
I'm Ant
You won't,
Pants.
because
I'm
it's
all of
great.
it. You can call me whatever you want.
Exactly. So, if any of you guys, Trace, good old Sucky Tracy, if you want to shoot us an email and I'm gonna read it
Please
first. I'll
do.
tell you that right now.
Yeah,
I will make
yeah.
sure. So, but you're
Same with you,
welcome to.
Cheryl. If you got some shit to say, go ahead. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
fine. It's
I
fine.
blocked you on everything else, so
Yeah, if you guys somehow can, if you can somehow, you know, see this and you want to talk, shoot an email. But
I ain't scared.
yeah, my iPad's at 10%. So
But yeah, no, that is my tragic story that has warped me as a person. That makes me look at life and people and things differently. Like I said, main drive for wanting to do this because we're not going to be around forever, and it's if I got nothing else to pass down because I don't know if I'm ever going to have kids and things like that. So if I don't, I can at least pass down my stories and maybe somebody can relate and I can help somebody.
exactly. Yeah. And I do have a couple closure questions for you. Um, the first one, since you were the storyteller today, I naturally have
Dun, dun,
questions. The
dun.
first the first one is there anything you want the viewers to remember about Mimi? Like a visual or something to leave them with about her as a person, who she was? Anything. It can be
I mean, if
anything.
you want, I can send you the last voicemail she ever sent me, where she's like, "This is
Oh,
Mimi, and I love you so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye." Like, I can send you that, and you can
yeah.
put that in
Yeah, so we'll
because
play it. We'll play it
her
right
voice, like I
here.
said, her voice is what means. Yeah, it's just that
Yep.
she's just a spunky, short, curly haired that looked like a freaking football helmet style because she was stuck in her freaking 50s era. She
I
was
love
a
that.
wild soul, but she had a big heart. And even though she wasn't perfect, and I'm never claiming she was perfect, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but she loved me unconditionally. No matter if I was going through my phase of calling her a bitch, no matter if I was, she's still the first person to this day that I wish I could call and I want to call when everything happens. Just hold your people tight, man. Even if, you're having issues, whether you're young and having problems with your mom or your dad or something, if it's nothing big and nothing that's hurting your life, hold them close because you never know how long you have them. And when they're gone, it's all you got, man.
Yeah, 100%. And my last and final question is, and you might not have an answer to this, but
Ooh.
have you had
Dun, dun,
any
dun.
ghostly, yes, dun dun dun. Have you had any ghostly encounters or experiences, maybe directly related to Mimi, or things that have happened since she died that you maybe think could be her?
I mean, honestly, with all the people that have passed away in my life, they all kind of fuck with me. My grandfather still fucks with me. Like, if you put a lighter down or something and you come back and it's not there, and you walk around, you're searching, and all of a sudden you come back again and it's there. He does that shit to me all the time because he used to do that when he was alive. Like, he just, he used to fuck with me.
Yeah,
My grandmother, I most of the time sense when I'm driving. Like I said, like certain songs will come on. Like I have this one song that is beautiful that because our thing was "You Are My Sunshine." That's what I got a tattoo for and everything.
yeah,
And this song called "Sunshine" literally talks about like I can feel you next to me, like even though you're not there, like I could hold you one more time. Like it's all about like losing somebody, but knowing that their presence is still there. And I shit you
yeah.
not. It could be cloudy, rainy, gross outside. It could just not be. It could be dull. And every time that song plays, like a light will shine through, like sunbeams, and it's always in my passenger seat. And I just, mine and her thing growing up is I was her car buddy. She wanted to take a trip to Walmart. She wanted to get out of the house. She wanted to go somewhere. I was always in the car, me and her playing music, talking. I was her
Oh,
little person. So
yeah.
I do sense her.
Yeah.
And I hope to always sense her. She's still there. The energy's still there. She'll get reincarnated into something.
Yeah, I have a lot of ghost stories, and I actually have a little quick mini one to end about Buddy that I saved. Um, and it's really simple, but it's just one time I was sleeping, or I was just laying on the couch at my grandma Bevy's house after Buddy died, and
Yeah.
Buddy he had a collar on and it would jingle, and he also always had really
Yeah.
long nails, so like you'd hear him in the kitchen
So you
walking
hear like the
around.
clank, 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 clank.
Yeah. And then when he got to the carpet, you would just feel him. And I just remember like one time, not even thinking about it, I was just in the living room and I hear his collar, and I hear his like I hear like what I think sounds like his paws on the kitchen floor,
Yeah.
but it sounds too close to be from the kitchen. And then I feel like little vibrations, as if like there's a little, but the jingle stopped when the
Aww.
vibrations started, as if he like got closer, like he
Yeah.
came around the corner, and then I like looked up and there was nothing there, and like nothing else ever happened, but it was just that one time where I thought I heard him,
Yeah.
almost like my brain was replaying a memory that wasn't happening because I was in the same space I had been, or he
Yeah.
wasn't sure he was ready to leave yet, and his little doggy butt was waddling around looking for scraps still. Who knows?
Well, you gotta think
Well,
about like energy can't be created nor destroyed. So if it has nowhere else to go, I mean, that was his home. That was his whole life. So like, it's still gonna be like
yeah,
some sort of presence there. It also can delve into, and this is just, it could also be a side thought where, we're living multiple universes at the same time, and in like a parallel universe of some kind, like he's still around and like you're in that spot and that's happening.
yeah,
Like there's so many rabbit holes you can go down with that type of thing.
yeah, yeah. It was cool. It was kind of like, did I hear that? Did I hear that? So,
Hmm.
but anyways, I think this has been a pretty intense episode, and next episode I think is going to be intense in a different way.
Yeah.
And we're gonna focus on my mom because this was your mother figure, so a kind of a way to
Yeah,
transition
100%.
into the next episode. And we're gonna focus more on some of the how do I put this? The witchier parts of my lineage, my mom's side of the
Ancestry, yeah,
family.
dude.
Yeah, because I'm going to talk about something that happened firsthand experience with me related to my mom's death, and we're going to talk first about how something similar gets passed down. So, if you're interested in more of
Yeah.
the witchy, I want to not psychic's not the word, but like spiritual side of the spookiness
Intuitive.
and intuitive, yeah, the
Yeah.
next episode might be something you want to listen to. So, anyways, we thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to my story, man. And hopefully, somebody can relate. Or honestly, I hope no one can relate because no one should have to go through that shit. But
Yeah.
if you have, know that you're not alone. It makes you stronger and it shows, when faced with this type of shit, when it's breathing down your neck, man, you fight or flight.
Yep.
You run, you stay or run.
And you definitely fought.
And it's okay either way. It's okay either way. Whatever,
Yeah.
it brings out your natural instinct. And, I would never have known that side of myself or what I could handle if I hadn't have gone through that.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, never stop asking yourself,
Who are you?
who are you?
Still figuring that out.
This is Mimi. I love you and you're a sweet gal. Give me a holler back when you can. Thank you. Love you. Bye-bye.